I look up the bosses on social media. I look them up on I look them up on LinkedIn. Sometimes I get a little brave and I add them on LinkedIn just to see what they're talking about. Because if you sharp and they sharp, you got to figure out, hey, what type of individual are you working with? Because you'll also LinkedIn is very, very telling, right? Because you have the people that actually interact on LinkedIn. See, 100%, right? That's gold right there, because everything you do is a part of your interaction, right? Everything, even including social media. So one of the things that we talked about when you were doing the research and you were looking up people and checking things out, it was one of those things where I was like, for me, I look up my interviewers potentially on social media. I look up the bosses on social media. I look them up on LinkedIn. Sometimes I get a little brave and I add them on LinkedIn just to see what they're talking about. Because if you sharp and they sharp, you got to figure out, hey, what type of individual are you working with? Because you'll also, LinkedIn is very telling, right? Because you have the people that actually interact on LinkedIn. When you find somebody interacting on LinkedIn, it'll show what things they've commented on LinkedIn. And so I go in there and I'm like, okay, so the boss is he's interested in some new plant technology that's going to change the wave, that's going to do all those things. I'm like, okay, he commented on that. He was praising these people. I even looked up, he was even, I think they wrote an article or he was in an interview or whatnot for this latest job that I had. But I also found out that he was prior service. I knew that kind of through the interviewing company, but I couldn't quite put my finger on it, right? But then as I was reading, I found out that he was a Black Hawk pilot. And in one of my previous military jobs, I was on a battalion staff. I was a chemical officer, but I had to come up with react to chemical attack plans for those pilots so I could speak to speak, right? I could talk to talk. I could walk to walk with them because they understood that I was bought into the culture. And it got to a point where I tapped into new company ventures. I found out that they were looking to convert their steam into energy in the plant. And so as we were walking through the conversation, I get excited, so I have to bring myself down. But as we were walking through the conversation, I was like, okay, that new steam initiative that you guys have that I looked up. And I started asking little intricacies. Okay, how's that rollout going? Are there any issues with that rollout plan? And because I also had a background in root cause analysis and process improvement. So when they start giving you those pieces of information, and this was a phone interview, was actually halfway around the world. I was in Africa at the time on a phone interview. But during that time, I was doing some different body language things, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But it's very important to greet those people, interact with those people as if they're your coworkers already. Not lax, professional. Smiling, nodding, keeping it basic. You ain't got to go too crazy. I think a lot of people, they think that certain things, some people will try to bait you sometimes into certain conversations just to see what you'll say about those, right? There are certain things that I kind of stay away from, like politics and religion and things like that. But when they do mention it, it's not like I'm like, oh, I ain't talking about that. What I do is, okay, yeah, no, I get what you're saying. Yeah, I don't even know. I ain't really got an opinion about it.
I got to do more research.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Oh, I need to check that out, fam. That's usually what it's like. And one of my go-tos, even in the workplace, is, hey, man, hey, sir, how you doing? And just little small talk, little small things.